Awareness is the first and most important step when it comes to protecting your brain health. Too often, people take their daily medications without truly understanding what each pill does beyond its intended effect. We might know that one is for sleep, another is for allergies, and another for bladder control, but few of us are told, in plain language, how these same medications can influence our long-term cognitive health. It's not that the medications are bad in themselves. They're often essential for managing specific conditions. But the truth is, many people don't and realize that some pills can have effects on the brain that quietly accumulate over time. It's a silent process, and that's exactly why awareness is so powerful. Without it, you might never think to question whether the forgetfulness you feel is related to what you've been prescribed. Being aware means looking at health in a more connected way. We tend to think of problems in isolation, memory loss over here, bladder problems over there, trouble sleeping somewhere else. But the body doesn't operate in silos. Everything is linked. When you understand that certain drugs can interfere with brain chemicals responsible for memory, attention, and learning, you begin to see why what's in your medicine cabinet could be just as relevant to your cognitive health as your diet, your exercise, or your daily mental habits. Knowledge transforms owes you from a passive patient into an active participant in your own care. Instead of simply taking what's handed to you, you start asking the right questions. Is there another option? Could this affect my memory? What happens if I take this long term? Awareness also arms you with the ability to notice subtle changes early. Memory loss doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual, often creeping in so slowly you don't recognize it at first. Maybe you forget appointments more often, lose track of conversations, or find yourself struggling to recall a familiar name. Many people dismiss these early signs as getting older, but when you're aware of the possible link between certain medications and cognitive decline, you won't brush them off so quickly. You'll pay attention, you'll keep track, and you'll bring it up with your doctor while there's still time to make changes. That's the difference awareness makes. It shifts you from reactive to proactive. Another reason awareness is so crucial is that it encourages communication between you and your healthcare provider. Too often, patients feel rushed or intimidated in appointments, thinking their doctor is too busy to explain every detail. But the truth is, your doctor can only work with the information you provide and the questions you ask. If you're aware that your medications may carry a dementia risk, you're far more likely to start a conversation about alternatives, dosage adjustments, or lifestyle changes that might help reduce your reliance on those drugs. Your physician isn't a mind reader. Awareness makes you a better partner in your own health journey. In addition, awareness helps you put your health decisions in perspective. Every medication carries both benefits and risks, and sometimes the benefits clearly outweigh the potential harm. But without understanding the possible cognitive effects, you can't truly weigh those decisions for yourself. You might choose to continue a medication knowing it's the best option for your condition, or you might decide to try something else. Either way, you're making an informed choice. Awareness means you're not leaving your future memory and a mental sharpness to chance. You're consciously protecting it. This kind of awareness isn't about living in fear. It's about living with intention. It's about taking the time to read the fine print, to understand what anticholinergic means, to know which pills might subtly reduce your brain's ability to store and recall information. It's about realizing that what's convenient today, like a quick pill for sleep or allergies, could have costs years down the road. And when you know that, you can plan better. Maybe you use that pill only when absolutely necessary. Maybe you try non-medication strategies first. Maybe you explore newer medications with fewer brain-related side effects. Finally, awareness inspires others. When you take the time to understand these connections, you can show what you've learned with family and friends who may not have heard of the risks. You might help a loved one recognize that their new forgetfulness isn't just them, and encourage them to speak with their doctor. You might even help someone avoid unnecessary long-term damage simply by sparking a conversation they never would have had. The bottom line is this: awareness is not just about gathering facts. It's about taking those facts and using them to protect your most valuable asset, your mind. You can't make every health risk disappear, but you can stop walking into them blind. With awareness, you're no longer simply a patient. You're your own best advocate, guardian, and partner in the lifelong work of keeping your brain as sharp and strong as possible. The hidden link between certain medications and dementia is something that doesn't get enough attention in everyday health conversations. When we hear the word dementia, we often think about age, genetics, or lifestyle factors like diet and exercise. While those are important, there's another piece of the puzzle that can silently influence brain health, long-term use of drugs with certain chemical properties, especially those known to have anticholinergic effects. These medications work by blocking a chemical messenger in the brain called acetylcholine, which is essential for learning, memory, and clear thinking. While blocking this chemical can help with certain symptoms like calming an overactive bladder, easing allergies, or helping someone sleep. It can also have unintended consequences for the brain, particularly over the months and years of regular use. Scientists have studied this connection for decades, but only recently has the public started to hear more about it. The research isn't about one single pill or one rare side effect. It's about a pattern. People who take these medications over a long period, especially at higher doses, show a higher risk of experiencing cognitive decline and, in some cases, developing dementia. This doesn't mean that taking pill for a few nights will cause memory problems. The concern is with cumulative exposure. The way these medications build up their effects over time. Think of it like a slow drip. You don't notice much at first, but years later, the container is full. In this case, the container is the effect on your brain. One of the most challenging parts of understanding this link is that the changes are often subtle and delayed. You may not feel any different when you start taking a medication. In fact, you might feel better because the original problem, insomnia, allergies, depression, bladder urgency, is finally under control. But in the background, these drugs may be interfering with how your brain cells communicate. Over time, these disruptions can accumulate, making it harder for your brain to form and retrieve memories. The link to dementia becomes even more concerning when you consider how common these medications are. Many of them are not exotic or rare. They're sitting in household medicine cabinets right now. Some are prescription only, but others are available over the counter, meaning people can take them without any medical follow-up. This easy availability can lead to years of regular use without anyone connecting the dots to memory changes. The problem isn't just the medication itself. It's the lack of awareness about its long-term effects. Another important point is that this link doesn't affect everyone equally. Age is a major factor. Older adults are generally more sensitive to the brain effects of anticholinergic medications because the brain naturally produces less acetylcholine as we age. This means that a dose that might have minimal effect on a younger adult's memory could have a much greater impact on someone over 60. People with existing memory issues or a family history of dementia may also be more vulnerable. When doctors prescribe these drugs without considering these factors, the risk increases. The science behind the link is strong enough that many healthcare organizations now recommend limiting the use of these medications in older adults whenever possible. Tools like the Beers criteria, a guideline for potentially inappropriate medications in older adults, specifically list anticholinergic drugs as risky for brain health. But these recommendations only help if patients and caregivers know about them and feel empowered to ask for alternatives. Too often, the conversation between patient and doctor is focused only on immediate symptoms, not on the brain health consequences years down the road. The hidden link to dementia is not meant to scare people into stopping their medications abruptly. That can be dangerous. Instead, it's a call to approach medication use with a bigger picture mindset. If you know there's a possible risk, you can weigh it against the benefits and consider other options. Maybe there's a newer drug that works in a different way, or a non-drug approach that addresses the root cause of the problem. In some cases, a lower dose might be enough to control symptoms without adding as much cognitive risk. It's also worth noting that the link between these medications and dementia doesn't mean dementia is inevitable. Our brains are resilient, and reducing or eliminating unnecessary exposure to these drugs can help lower the risk. The key is recognizing the connection early enough to make changes before significant damage is done. That's why talking about this link openly, repeatedly, and clearly is so important. The more people understand that what's in their pill bottle can affect what's in their memory, the better equipped they are to protect themselves. In the end, the hidden link between certain drugs and dementia is only hidden because it's not part of everyday conversation. Once you learn about it, it becomes something you can act on. That's the power of knowledge. It turns an invisible risk into a visible choice, and it gives you the opportunity to guard your most precious asset, your ability to think, remember, and live fully present in your own life. Know why and the names and types of medications that may affect your memory is one of the most practical and life-changing steps you can take for your brain health. Too often, people think memory problems come only from aging or diseases like Alzheimer's, but in reality, some of the most common culprits are right in our medicine cabinets. Identifying these medications is not about blaming the treatment. It's about giving yourself the power to recognize potential risks and make better informed decisions with your healthcare provider. The truth is, the brain is sensitive to chemical changes and certain medications can interfere with its ability to process and store information. By learning which medications are linked to memory loss, you put yourself in a position to protect your cognitive health before problems arise. One of the most well-known categories is sleep aids, particularly the older types that have strong sedating effects. Many people turn to them when they can't get a good night's rest, not realizing that some of these drugs work by blocking acetylcholine, a brain chemical critical for memory. While they may help you drift off, regular use, especially over long periods, can reduce mental sharpness and slow recall. What makes them risky is that poor sleep is already linked to memory issues. So these drugs may compound the problem rather than solve it. Another category is older antihistamines, often used for allergies, colds, or even as sleep aids. Diphenhydramine, for example, is a common ingredient in both allergy pills and nighttime pain relievers. It's easy to underestimate the impact of these drugs because they're sold over the counter and have been around for decades. But hold doesn't always mean safe for long-term use. These medications can cause brain fog, confusion, and slower thinking in addition to their intended effects. And because they're widely available, people often take them for months or years without realizing that their potential impact on memory. Then there are bladder control medications, which are prescribed to manage overactive bladder symptoms. While they can bring much needed relief and improve quality of life, many work by relaxing certain muscles through the same acetylcholine blocking mechanism. This might calm the bladder, but it can also quietly reduce the brain's capacity for learning and recall over time. Since bladder issues often affect older adults, this group is especially at risk. The very people who most need to guard their cognitive abilities may be taking medications that put those abilities in jeopardy. A fourth important category is certain antidepressants, particularly the older tricyclic antidepressants. While these medications have helped countless people manage depression and anxiety, they too can have anticholinergic effects. Depression itself can cause memory problems, so when a medication adds to that burden, the result can be even more noticeable. This doesn't mean they shouldn't be used at all. Sometimes they are a best option, but it does mean the potential impact on memory should be weighed carefully, especially when there are newer antidepressants that may carry fewer cognitive risks. What's important to understand is that these medications aren't rare or obscure. They're everyday drugs that people use for common conditions, trouble sleeping, seasonal allergies, bladder urgency, and mood disorders. That's why awareness of their names and effects is so vital. You don't need to memorize every possible drug on the list, but you should be able to recognize the categories and know the key ones that may require extra caution. Recognizing these names is also about recognizing patterns. I am the world's. If you're taking more than one medication with anticholinergic effects, the impact on memory can be additive, meaning the more of these drugs you take, the greater the potential risk. That's why it's important to review your medication list with your doctor or pharmacist. Not just prescription drugs, but over-the-counter products too. Many people are surprised to learn that something they bought at the local pharmacy could be contributing to their forgetfulness. Equally important is understanding that not all medications within these categories are equally risky. Some have stronger anticholinergic effects than others. For example, not all antihistamines affect the brain in the same way, and not all antidepressants carry the same memory risks. This is where your healthcare provider's expertise comes in. They can help you determine whether the specific medication you're taking is a concern and if there are safer alternatives. Finally, knowing these names empowers you to take an active role in your own care. Instead of passively accepting every prescription or over-the-counter suggestion, you can ask informed questions. Is this medication known to affect memory? Are there newer or safer options I could try? How long should I realistically stay on this drug? These conversations may seem small, but they can make a profound difference in your long-term cognitive health. The more familiar you are with the medications linked to memory loss, the better prepared you are to safeguard the one thing that shapes every part of your life, your mind. Taking charge of your health is not just a nice phrase. It is the very foundation of preserving both your body and your mind. Too many people assume that because a doctor prescribed a medication, it must be the only or best option available. While healthcare professionals are highly trained and knowledgeable, they are also human, working within time constraints, and sometimes focused on addressing the immediate symptoms rather than the long-term picture. This is where you, as the patient, have a responsibility to be informed, to ask questions, and to play an active role in your treatment decisions. Your health is ultimately your responsibility, and your voice in these decisions matters just as much as your doctor's expertise. When it comes to medications linked to memory loss and dementia risk, taking charge means starting with awareness, knowing what you are taking, why you are taking it, and what the potential side effects are, even those that might not appear until years later. It's easy to take pills on autopilot, especially if you've been on them for years without obvious problems. But the human body changes with time, and what was safe or necessary 10 years ago might now carry more risk than benefit. Reviewing the worlds, reviewing your medication list with your healthcare provider regularly is one of the simplest but most powerful steps you can take. This isn't about guessing your doctor. It's about collaborating with them and with them to keep your treatment plan up to date and tailored to your needs as they evolve. Taking charge also means never stopping or adjusting your medication without professional guidance. Some drugs can cause withdrawal symptoms or worsen your condition if stopped suddenly, so changes should always be made with medical supervision. But that doesn't mean you have to remain on a potentially harmful medication indefinitely. If a drug you take is known to affect memory, your doctor may be able to suggest a lower dose, a different drug with fewer cognitive side effects, or non-drug treatments that could manage your symptoms just as effectively. You own your options unless you ask, and asking is part of taking control. Another aspect of taking charge is being proactive about lifestyle changes that can reduce your reliance on medication. For example, if you take sleep aids, you might explore improving your sleep hygiene, things like keeping a consistent bedtime, limiting caffeine, and creating a restful bedroom environment. If you use antihistamines for allergies, you might talk to your doctor about an allergy, proofing your home, or trying newer generation medications that don't cross into the brain as easily. If you take bladder control drugs, you might learn pelvic floor exercises or fluid management strategies that reduce urgency without medication. These steps don't always replace the need for drugs, but they can reduce how much and how often you need them, lowering the risk to your brain over time. Taking charge of your health also involves knowing your personal risk factors. If you have a family history of dementia, memory loss, or cognitive decline, you may want to be especially cautious about medications with anticholinergic effects. You might also benefit from regular cognitive screenings to catch changes early. If you're older, your brain is naturally more sensitive to these drugs, so even small doses can have a bigger impact than they would in younger years. Understanding how your age, genetics, and current health interact with your medications allows you to make more strategic protective choices. Just as important is the courage to seek a second opinion when necessary if you feel that your concerns about memory and medication are being brushed aside. Don't be afraid to consult another healthcare provider. A fresh perspective can reveal options that weren't previously discussed, and in some cases, simply having a more thorough conversation can make all the difference. You are the one living with the effects of your medications, not your doctor, so your experiences, observations, and instincts deserve to be taken seriously. Finally, taking charge of your health means remembering that prevention is as important as treatment. Protecting your brain isn't just about avoiding harmful medications. It's also about keeping your mind active and engaging in regular physical exercise, eating a nutrient-rich diet, and managing stress. A healthy brain is more resilient, better able to handle challenges, and less vulnerable to the effects of aging or disease when you combine these lifestyle habits with informed, intentional medication choices. You create a powerful defense against memory loss and cognitive decline. In the end, taking charge of your health is about ownership. You own the decisions you make, the questions you ask, and the care you receive. While you can't control every factor in your health, you can control how informed, involved, and proactive you are in protecting your body and mind. The conversations you have today about your medications may very well determine the clarity and sharpness of your thinking years from now. By stepping into that role fully, you're not just managing your health, you're actively shaping the quality of your future